at the Lesley HELLER Workspace, talking about your show,
Hi.
Making is Thinking.
Yes. And,
Okay, give us a quick rough cut run through. We got about 5 minutes.
Okay, so
We're talking about the material, yes.
the material is called Apoxie-Sculpt, epoxy with an A. If you go to my website, danielweiner.com, there's a link to it on every page. It's a 2-part material. Comes in colors. You can mix the colors with itself, so I have an array of colors. When I make the stuff, it's live for 4 to 6 hours. And
So you can mold it and play with it.
you can mold it. I probably have every sculptural move you can make, from modeling to mold making to carving and subtraction, pretty much everything you can think of.
I think one of the interesting things about what you've got going here is that in a lot of ways you're really combining the idea of painting, the material part of painting, and pushing it into sculpture.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's nice because you kind of I work like a painter, and all of these are very improvised. So it's not just the color part of painting, it's kind of like the activity of painting.
Yes.
Because the color's in the material. And I kind of tend to think of them as very amphibious. This one is called Harlequin Poison, which is named after a frog. But so they're like halfway between painting and sculpture. There's some sculpture into furniture.
This one looks like you've got little fungi or something growing off the bottom
So
here.
these
the
little
root systems.
these little sections are for molds, and these cups are for molds. And they're sort of made incrementally and built up. And one of the nice things about the material too is that it's structural, so you can make it up as you go along. A lot of sculpture is very hard to improvise because you have to deal with the armature.
Right. And this has no armature. This is all just pure, what did you call it?
It's
Apoxie-Sculpt.
While you're making it, you have to build it up. This one, nobody sees it, but I tend to think of it as a sculpture holding up a painting, or a stand holding up a platter. Mostly because I know this part comes off.
That kind of made me think of Botticelli's Birth of Venus and some little
this one's
thing standing up in the
called
clamshell.
ruckus. When I was trying to title it, I was trying to think of something that combined both something like very fine, like filigree or gossamer, and then something sort of monstrous, like leviathans. But I couldn't get it to combine, so it ended up being called Ruckus. I also thought of Orange Crush.
So it's kind of unusual that you'd be thinking about sculpture in a coloristic way like that. I mean, did you start out as a painter, or did you start out as a sculptor and just sort of brought that into it?
Forever, but my sculpture almost, it's like a mature sculpture, so to speak. Whenever, like when I was 30, when I started making sculpture that was my own, it always had color in it, but it was applied color.
Wow.
And it's nice with this because it's.
And here we've got a little text.
I have one of these as my coffee table. We actually have 2 tables at home that I've made.
And even the legs and everything will hold up. That's great.
Well, this one's a bench.
This one's
actually a function.
Somebody could actually sit on that?
Yeah. So part of it is.
I won't, but
Yeah,
I love this color stuff. Go sit down.
Okay. But to me, one of the reasons I think I make a bench is that they're very prosaic. It's like one of the most prosaic pieces of furniture. And what I'm doing doesn't seem to be very prosaic.
I heard a sculptor say that if you were a sculptor and you hadn't made a chair, you weren't really a sculptor yet. So, okay, so we just took a quick run through of Making is Thinking. Is that?
Yes, Making is Thinking. It comes from the beginning of a book called The Craftsman by Richard Sennett, which is kind of a theoretical look at practice and the idea that the thoughts or new ideas come from workshops rather than from just the
sitting
brain.
at home and working on your ideas, getting out there with the hands and actually doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
And thanks, Kate.
Naturally, all my ideas, as soon as the camp is.
No.